So welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily News and Shorts. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs in a short span of time. Now, needless to say this, you have to revise this lecture just after watching it. Because if you don't, and you just only watch this lecture, these current affairs would quickly skip your memory. So you need to solidify them in your memory at least till your exams. Therefore, revision is extremely important. Now, you can revise these current affairs from the notes provided by us, and these notes are shared on our Telegram channel. The link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Alright then, let's begin today's discussion. But first, let's take a look at the list of topics that we shall cover today. So let's begin. So daily current affairs, 28th of November, Friday, and here is the topics list. Topic number 1 is related to from GM, genetic modification, to gene editing crops, India's journey. This is a very important topic, okay? Topic number 2 is with respect to defense, okay? INS Mahe, commissioned for Indian Navy. So we'll talk about this. Then topic number 3 is about Central Empowered Committee, which advises the Supreme Court on environmental cases. So there was some development with respect to this, so we'll talk about this. And in the end, we'll talk about a fascinating news, and that is some places in Kerala are now also on Mars. Or I mean, some places of Mars have been named after certain towns of Kerala. Okay, so we'll talk about this entire topic. It's a fascinating thing and a proud moment for India. All right, so these are the 4 topics. Topic number 1 is related to science and technology portion of your UPSC syllabus. Topic number 2 again related to science and technology because defense technology is part of science and technology. Topic number 3 is related to polity portion of your UPSC syllabus, and topic number 4 is related to again science and technology because it's related to space. Space is again part of science and technology. All right, so these are the four topics that we shall zero in our attention on. So let's start discussing them one by one. Starting with topic number 1, and that is from GM to GE crops, India's journey. Now listen to me very carefully. With advancements in genetic engineering, well, we started applying these things, these technologies to agriculture as well. What is genetic engineering? Basically, you manipulate the DNA of crops. And when you manipulate the DNA of crops, as you all know, DNA contains all your physical information. So if you manipulate the DNA of crops, their physical traits change. You can make them more drought tolerant, salt tolerant, flood tolerant. You can enhance some nutritional value also. You can make potato rich in proteins. You can make rice rich in vitamin A. So all these things can be done just by tinkering with genes of that plant or DNA of that plant. Now there are 2 ways of doing this. One is genetic modification. Now what is genetic modification? You basically take the DNA of an external organism, take some fragment of the DNA of, let's suppose, a bacteria or any other organism, and insert it into the DNA of a crop. So whatever useful trait you want, you take the DNA fragment, that particular chromosomes or gene component of another organism and insert it into the crop. Okay, this is GM, genetic modification. Then the other is gene editing, where you do not introduce any foreign gene, you just change the original DNA of that particular crop. No foreign DNA is introduced. That is GE, gene editing. Now the thing is that genetic modification, GM crops have shown a lot of promise all over the world, and many people say that most of the problems facing agriculture these days can be solved through GM crops. But environmental activists, health activists are against GM crops. They don't want our plants to be introduced with foreign genes. So they have opposed it. In India, only cotton crops have genetic modification, GM cotton or BT cotton. So far, only BT cotton is the only GM crop that is allowed in India. No other crop is allowed because of opposition from activists. But there is no such opposition to gene editing. And that is why India has made certain strides, achieved certain milestones in gene editing. Okay, GE crops. So in this article, we are going to talk about that. India's journey from GM, which showed a lot of promise, but India couldn't achieve it, to GE. Okay, so let's quickly talk about this. It's important from the perspective of your syllabus. So pay close attention. So from GM to GE crops, India's journey. So what was in the news? Cultivation of GM crops in India has not progressed beyond cotton. Like I said, it was BT cotton or Monsanto's Bolgar 2. But the story is more encouraging in case of GE crops. Now, first of all, you need to know about the difference between GM and GE. First, let's talk about this. Though I've explained this difference in the beginning of this topic, okay? But still, let's know about this difference in detail. So, GM versus GE. So, GM crops contain foreign genes from unrelated species. Like BT cotton uses bacterial genes because those bacterial genes give this crop of cotton pest resistance. Pests cannot attack the cotton crop. Okay, so this is GM. But what is GE? Genome edited crops involve editing genes already present in the plant without introducing foreign DNA, resulting in mutation or desired trait alteration. You alter the desired trait. Okay? Now, if you want to grow GM crops in India or allow growth of GM crops in India, you have to take so many permissions from the government, so many regulatory clearances. And those regulatory clearances are not allowed for any other crop except cotton. Okay? So if we talk about regulation of GM crops, well, they require clearance from Genetic Engineering Appraisal Committee. Remember the name of this committee. Every GM crop for cultivation requires appraisal of GEAC and final approval of Environment Ministry, okay, with stringent biosafety assessments. But that is not the case with GE. GE crops since March 2022. Well, Environment Ministry made it clear that since March 2022, well, GE crops are exempt and need only Institutional Biosafety Committee certification, just one certification, and that is it. They don't need anything else. Okay, so they are at par with conventional crops. Simple, yes. So this is the case, and because it is easy to get the approval for GE like for other seeds, because it is easy, that is why, well, we have made so many achievements in GE. For example, in 2023, two GE rice lines, Sambam Hasuri and MTU 1010, showed significant yield improvements and adaptability to saline and alkaline soils. These were GE crops, two varieties of GE rice crops. Okay, GE mustard line, resistant to fungal infections, is undergoing field trials right now. So GE mustard is on the line. It is, I mean, almost it will get approval. Government is also providing support for GE because there is not much opposition like that there was in case of GM. So Modi government allocated 500 crores in this 2023-24 budget for GE research, including crops, horticulture, animal sciences, fisheries, and microorganisms. Plus, India is getting future ready because Indian Council of Agricultural Research has identified 178 target genes in 24 crops. Okay, Indian scientists are being trained abroad also for this. And indigenous GE tool, genetic editing tool. Because the thing is, for doing genetic editing, you require tools like CRISPR, Cas9. But these are foreign tools and you have to pay license fee to foreigners. But India has developed its own domestic tool called TNBP. We have discussed about TNBP like 4 or 5 lectures back. So, well, India shouldn't be worried when it comes to GE, and India is going from strength to strength as far as GE is concerned and solve most of the modern problems facing Indian agriculture. So this is very good news. Though you should know about GM versus GE. That was the whole purpose of including this news item in today's lecture. All right? Okay then. Let's move forward. Let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is INS Mahe Commissioned. Now, what is INS Mahe? INS Mahe is a naval ship that specializes in submarine warfare. Now, you know what submarines are? Submarines are those naval vessels that, well, float under the water. And that is why it is very difficult to detect them. Along the coastline of Indian Ocean, there might be many enemy submarines that would have been floating or that would have been going around, spying on Indian Ocean along the Indian coastline, right? So we need to stop that. We need to develop our capability to destroy submarines, enemy submarines. Okay. Now, this INS Mahe will be able to detect submarines and destroy them also. And we need this to protect our coastline from Chinese, Pakistani, Turkish submarines. Yes, simple. Now, remember that there are different classes of ships. Similarly, this ship, which is anti-submarine warfare ship, well, there are different classes to it. When we say a class of ships, well, a class of ships have similar technological platforms. Okay, so for anti-submarine warfare, there is this Mahe class, of which the first ship, INS Mahe, has been commissioned. Basically, we have enhanced our anti-submarine warfare capabilities along the Indian coastline, which is very important. We'll talk about why it is important. Okay, but first let's talk about some technical features of INS Mahe. All right, so let's begin. So INS Mahe commissioned. So this is INS Mahe. So what was in the news? Indian Navy commissioned INS Mahe, an anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft. What is shallow water craft? Shallow water craft is that ship that mostly operates in shallow waters and can destroy submarines operating in shallow waters. Now, what do you mean by shallow waters? Not deep waters, shallow waters. Now, shallow waters are found close to our coastline. That is why this particular ship, because it is a shallow water ship, well, it will protect our coastline because it operates and destroys submarines operating in shallow waters, which are near the Indian coast. So the whole purpose of this ship is protect our coastline because it won't be able to detect submarines in deep waters like deep Indian Ocean or any other sea, Arabian Sea, Bay of Bengal. But shallow waters, yes. On its crest is Urumi, a flexible sword from the martial art form of Kalairipat, India's own martial art form, Kalairipat. Okay, so a sword is used in that martial art form, that is Urumi, that is on its crest. Okay, fitted with advanced weapons, sensors, communication, enabling it to detect, track, and neutralize subsurface threats, which is submarines. With precision, ship can sustain prolonged operations. It can travel in water for longer periods of time. That means its fuel tank is huge. Okay, now some more information about Mahe. It is the first Mahe class. Remember class, okay, similar technology. Anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft. So remember this short form, ASW SWC. Built by Cochin Shipyard Limited for Indian Navy. Okay, it is named after historical coastal town of Mahe on Malabar coast. Okay, so it is named after the Mahe town. Mahe town belongs to Union Territory of Pondicherry. So Pondicherry is mostly on eastern coast, but one of its town, short town, is on Malabar, western coast of India. Okay, so you all know that Pondicherry, the entire UT of Pondicherry is made up of 4 towns. The actual town of Pondicherry and many other, Karaikal, Yanam, Mahe. So Mahe is on west coast, all the other towns of Pondicherry are on east coast. So it is named after Mahe, which lies on Malabar coast. It symbolizes maritime heritage with its crest featuring Urumi, sword from Kalairipat, and a cheetah mascot. And its motto is silent hunters. Okay, these are silent hunters and also hunt those ships which are silent. Submarines are silent. Clear? Now it uses diesel engine water jet, largest such Indian naval warship. Okay, so this is the detail. Though some more facts about it, it can reach up to the speeds of 25 knots. Its endurance is 18,000 nautical miles. Once you fill the tank to its full efficiency, not efficiency, full capacity, well, then it can travel up to 1800 nautical miles. And over 80% of the content used in this ship is Indian. Only 20% is imported. So good news for Atmanirbhar Bharat as well. Yes? So this is the thing. Now, what are its advantages? Remember, I told you that this ship is really important because it will boost our naval capabilities in Indian Ocean region. So what is the strategic advantage that we stand to gain from the induction of this ship? Number one, defense of India's coastal waters. India has 7,500 kilometers of coastline, 12 major and 184 minor ports, over 1,000 islands. Okay, they need protection. Well, this is the way for it. Then on these coastal towns, we have various assets as well. Ships, port ships come over here. Okay, offshore energy assets like oil rigs are there. Government's air bases or, well, defense bases are there. They all need protection from submarines. So this will provide. Plus, this submarine will be integrated with other on-ground assets like sensors, patrol aircraft, all these things. Okay. By the way, in your notes, I have mentioned certain extra information. What other class of ASW, SWC, okay, anti-submarine warfare ships have been inducted or are in development? Some information about that is also given. So just go through that, just read it once. That is extra information in your notes. All right. Okay, now let's quickly shift our focus to next news item, and that is Central Empowered Committee. Okay, Now you see, in 2002, on the direction of Supreme Court, a body of experts was formed. That body of experts, environmental experts, well, that body is called Central Empowered Committee. Now, the job of that Central Empowered Committee was very simple, that whenever Supreme Court is hearing any environmental case, okay, whenever Supreme Court is hearing any environmental case, well, it needs the opinion of environmental experts. So this body, this Central Empowered Committee, will be that body of experts that will advise the Supreme Court to give its judgment on environmental cases. Okay, so on the direction of Supreme Court in 2002, CEC was formed. Now, CEC was given statutory status, okay, later, and in 2023, it was put under Environment Ministry. Now, the thing is that there is already a body that listens to environmental cases, and that is National Green Tribunal. National Green Tribunal also adjudicates on environmental cases, and CEC also advises on the adjudication of environmental cases to the Supreme Court. So government made this point that there is duplicity of functions. Both bodies are performing same functions. Already NGT is performing this function, so why do we need another body, CEC? So Cabinet Secretariat basically floated this proposal that we need to close CEC and work with NGT only. But Supreme Court said that since you created this body on our direction, we told you to create this body, therefore we are now telling you that you cannot shut this body down until you take permission from us. That's the opinion of Supreme Court. Supreme Court has said that yes, you might say that there is duplicity of functions, but CEC has proven to be useful. Therefore, we can't allow it to be disbanded. So this is the entire issue. Now let's gather some details about this issue, about CEC, how many members it has, what is its composition, powers, functions, all these things. Okay? All right. Central Empowered Committee. So in the news, on November 19, 2025, the Supreme Court ruled that CEC cannot be disbanded without its approval. The court acknowledged that the CEC's existence and independent fact-finding has been vital for effective judicial orders given by Supreme Court. Their expertise has been effective in adjudicating environmental cases. That is acknowledged by Supreme Court. So Supreme Court says we can't disband it. And even if we want to disband it, well, you have to take our permission. Supreme Court, some might say this is judicial overreach, but Supreme Court has said so. Okay. Now about CEC. So remember, CEC is a statutory body formed originally in 2002 by Supreme Court order in the landmark T.N. Godavarman Tirumalpad Union of India versus Union of India. This case was related to forest conservation. Okay. Now, what is its composition? It consists of chairperson, member secretary, and 3 expert members drawn from environment, 1 environmental expert, 1 forest expert, 1 wildlife expert, and their expertise should have at least 20 years of experience. Okay. Now, what is their main job? It conducts independent fact-finding and spot inspections, then submits their report to Supreme Court, which uses these reports, these expert reports, to give their judgment on any environmental case. Okay, so that is their whole purpose. In 2023, Environment Ministry made CEC a permanent body via notification, okay, and put it under its own jurisdiction. So Environment Ministry appoints members. Okay. Now, what was the controversy? I explained it to you. The controversy is Cabinet Secretariat has advised Environment Ministry to let Law Commission decide on the future of CEC, suggesting possible duplicity and jurisdiction overlap between CEC and National Green Tribunal. Okay, but Supreme Court has said no. All right, that would be all. That's all you need to know. And now let's get on with this lecture. And now let's move to next topic, the last topic, and a little bit more interesting topic, and that is Kerala on Mars. So various towns from Kerala have been used. I mean, the names of various towns in Kerala have been used to name certain areas on Mars, certain craters, certain valleys on Mars. Now, the authority to name these assets, to name these celestial bodies, is International Astronomical Union. Remember this, International Astronomical Union is the international authority that can name outer space bodies. Okay, so it basically included 7 names from India. All right, so it included 7 names from India, and many of them were from Kerala. And the reason is, Well, International Astronomical Union said that we want to honor India because ISRO has made so many contributions to space science. So we wanted to honor India. That is why we have named these places on Mars based on, well, certain towns in Kerala. Clear? So let's talk about those towns. So Kerala on Mars. So recently, International Astronomical Union's Working Group for Planetary Nomenclature announced several Martian geological features named after Indian places, including 7 from Kerala. Okay. Important 5 from Kerala are: number 1, Periyar. So a valley on Mars has been named Periyar, okay, after, well, Kerala's one of the biggest rivers, okay, Periyar. Then Bekal. Bekal is the name of a 17th century fort in North Kerala. So a crater is named after Bekal. Varkala. Well, Varkala is an important tourist town famous for its beaches and all. So a crater is named after Varkala. Then Tumba. Well, India's first spaceport rocket launching site was Tumba Equatorial Rocket Launching Station, which was later named as Vikram Sarabhai Space Center. Okay, so this is Tumba's significance. Another crater is named after Tumba. And Valimala. Well, in Valimala there is Indian Space Science and Technology Institute, Indian Institute of Space Science and Technology, basically. Okay, so that is in Valimala. So a crater is named after Valimala also. Some other Indian names that are part of Martian surface. Well, Krishnan crater, named after M.S. Krishnan, India's renowned geologist, first Indian Geological Survey Director. A plain surface nearby is named Krishnan Plaus. Then Martian surface also has features named after Ganga River, though that was not proposed by India, but still. So, well, International Astronomical Union, the authority responsible for all of this, honored India for its contributions to space science, and this was their way of honoring India. Now, in your notes, there is some extra information related to this topic also, and that extra information is related to International Astronomical Union. What is this International Astronomical Union? Where is its headquarters? When was it formed? Okay, what are its functions? All of these details are given in your notes. Do check that out. An MCQ or a mains type question can be asked from this. All right. And that would be all. With that, we conclude today's session. So thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I'm sure it has added value to your preparation. I'm sure about it. Provided you have been consistent and regular with these lectures. And you never forget to revise these lectures from the notes provided by us on our Telegram channel. So make sure you do that always. And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of news items. Thank you, everyone.